Once upon a time, in the depths of a mysterious forest, there lived a young girl named Emily. She was known for her adventurous spirit and fearlessness. However, little did she know that her next adventure would be much more daunting than she could ever imagine. Emily lived in a small village, surrounded by lush green fields and majestic mountains. But it was the towering forest on the outskirts that intrigued her the most. She had heard whispers of its ancient folklore and hidden secrets, and she couldn't resist the urge to explore. One fateful morning, Emily packed her backpack with enough supplies to sustain her for a few days and ventured into the heart of the forest. The cool breeze tickled her cheeks as she stepped onto the mossy ground, the towering trees swallowing her whole. The forest seemed eerily calm as Emily wandered deeper into its depths, the sunlight filtering through the thick canopy above. But as the hours passed, the familiar feeling of excitement soon turned into unease. Despite her growing apprehension, Emily pressed on, determined to uncover the mysteries hidden within the woods. But as twilight fell, the forest transformed into a sinister realm. Shadows danced between the trees, whispering secrets that sent shivers down her spine. Suddenly, from the corner of her eye, Emily caught sight of something moving swiftly in the underbrush. Her heart raced as she followed the sound, only to find a wild rabbit darting away. She let out a nervous laugh, blaming her overactive imagination for creating illusions. In the outside world, Emily became nothing more than a chilling legend, a cautionary tale whispered around campfires to scare children into obedience. Her name became synonymous with the horrors lurking in the shadows. Generation after generation, the villagers trembled at the mere thought of stepping foot into the forest, their fear keeping them far away from its foreboding depths. And so, the story of Emily, the girl lost in the woods, became nothing more than a ghostly myth, a twisted bedtime story wrapped in fear and uncertainty. But deep within the forest, Emily's nightmare continued, a haunting reminder of the horrors one could never truly escape. And so, dear reader, let this tale serve as a chilling warning. Beware the allure of the unknown, for those who venture into the darkness may find themselves forever trapped in a nightmare from which there is no escape. The end. A figure emerged from the shadows, its eyes glowing with malevolence. It was Evangeline, or perhaps, a twisted version of her former self. She revealed that the amulet had been a vessel harboring the darkness that resided within the forest. Evangeline explained that the amulet could never truly banish the nightmares. Its true purpose was to feed off the fear and heartache of those who sought its power and to keep the forest's sinister secrets hidden from the world. Emily's heart sank as she realized the true nature of the amulet. It had tricked her into believing she had triumphed over her nightmares, when, in reality, she had only unleashed an even greater terror upon herself and the world. In a vile twist of fate, the forest that had once sought to devour Emily's soul now served as her prison. The twisted trees closed in around her, their branches morphing into skeletal hands that bound her in an iron grip. Emily's pleas for mercy fell on deaf ears as the forest echoed with mocking laughter. The nightmare she had thought she escaped had come full circle, ensnaring her once more, a cruel reminder of the lessons she failed to learn. The forest became her eternal torment, a labyrinth of despair where time had no meaning. Emily's mind became a playground for the darkest fears and nightmares she had tried so desperately to outrun. Days turned into years, and years turned into centuries, but Emily remained trapped within the forest, her soul taunted and tormented by the very nightmares she once hoped to banish. Ignoring the chaos around her, Emily focused on the amulet. She gripped it tightly, feeling the pulsating power emanating from within. With a flicker of hope in her heart and newfound strength in her soul, she activated its ancient magic. The amulet glowed radiantly, bathing the forest in its warm light. The twisted trees began to wither and decay, the grotesque creatures melting away like shadows. The nightmare was finally coming to an end. Emily emerged from the heart of the forest, clutching the amulet tightly. The haunted nightmares that had plagued her for so long were finally banished, replaced by a newfound sense of peace and closure. Word of Emily's triumphant return spread throughout the village, and the townsfolk rejoiced, celebrating her bravery and tenacity. She had become their local hero, a symbol of courage and overcoming the darkest of fears. But as the years passed, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that the horrors she had encountered in that forest were not truly gone. She had broken free from the nightmare, but something still lingered, waiting to be unleashed. One moonlit night, as Emily lay in bed, She felt the familiar chill in the air. A soft voice whispered in the darkness, urging her to return to the forest once more. Curiosity lured her, and against her better judgment, she followed its call. The forest welcomed her with open arms, the once twisted trees now stretching towards her with an eerie allure. It was as if the nightmare had never truly ended, like a slumbering beast awakening from its slumber. In her search, Emily stumbled upon an old book that told of an enchanted amulet capable of dispelling nightmares and bringing peace to those plagued by darkness. The amulet was said to be hidden deep within the very heart of the forest that had haunted her dreams for so long. Undeterred by the dangers that lay ahead, Emily ventured back into the forest, her steps purposeful and her resolve unbreakable. She would not rest until she had found the amulet and rid herself of the nightmare that had become her reality. As Emily trekked through the familiar yet foreboding forest, each step felt heavy with anticipation. Bizarre noises now accompanied her every move, as if the forest itself were taunting her, unwilling to relinquish its grip. Days turned to nights, and nights turned to days. But still, Emily pressed on. She encountered strange creatures, twisted and tormented. But with each encounter, she grew bolder, no longer allowing her fear to hold sway over her. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Emily stumbled upon a hidden grove. It radiated with an ethereal energy, its beauty mirroring the darkness that surrounded it. She knew she had found the resting place of the amulet. As Emily reached out to touch the majestic pedestal in the center of the grove, the forest came alive. Vines slithered and coiled, threatening to entangle her, while branches stretched towards her, creating a macabre prison. Inside, an elderly woman awaited, her features lined with wisdom and kindness. She introduced herself as Evangeline, a witch who had been banished to this forsaken forest for reasons long forgotten. Evangeline explained that the creatures that roamed these woods were manifestations of people's deepest fears and nightmares. The mirror Emily had encountered was a portal into this terrifying dimension. But there was one way to escape, one way to break free from this endless nightmare. Evangeline shared a secret recipe for a potion that could bend the rules of reality and open a gateway back home. Emily listened intently, her determination growing with each passing word. With ingredients gathered from the depths of the forest and Evangeline's guidance, Emily brewed the potion. The cottage filled with an otherworldly mist as she drank it down, her fate hanging in the balance. Emily felt a surge of energy course through her veins as reality twisted and warped around her. Moments later, she found herself standing at the edge of the forest, her home in sight. She had made it back, but the nightmare still lingered. Haunted by the horror she had witnessed, Emily became reclusive, her once adventurous spirit dampened by the memory of that fateful day. Night after night, twisted nightmares plagued her mind, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked within. Determined to find closure, Emily set out on a quest to uncover the truth behind the curse that had befallen her. She delved into ancient texts and sought out those who possessed knowledge of the supernatural. Shadows swirled and merged, creating an amalgamation of sinister figures. The cabin vibrated with an otherworldly energy as Emily found herself trapped, unable to tear her gaze away from her monstrous reflection. Suddenly, the mirror shattered, shards of glass falling like deadly raindrops. Emily shielded her face, bracing herself for the impact, but instead, she found herself standing in a completely different place. The forest had transformed into a nightmarish landscape, twisted trees reaching out with gnarled limbs, teeming with malicious intent. The moon hung low in the pitch-black sky, casting an eerie glow on the barren terrain. Panic gripped Emily as she realized she was lost in a realm of darkness, with no hope of finding her way back home. She wandered aimlessly, haunted by the whispered echoes that seemed to come from every direction. A sudden crunching sound pierced the silence, causing Emily to freeze. Through the thick fog, a hulking figure emerged. Its glowing eyes bore into her soul, and its sinister grin revealed a row of wickedly sharp teeth. Terrified, Emily turned to flee. But her path was blocked by more of these grotesque creatures. Every step she took, they mirrored her movement, closing in on her with relentless determination. She was their prisoner, trapped in an endless nightmare. Just as hope began to fade, Emily noticed a dim light flickering in the distance. With renewed determination, she ran towards it, her heart pounding in her chest. The light grew brighter as she drew closer, and she realized it was emanating from a small, run-down cottage. With each step, Emily felt as though the forest was closing in on her, the tangled branches forming an intricate web, trapping her within its clutches. Her footsteps became slower, more hesitant. Panic began to seep into her mind. Just as Emily was about to turn back, she stumbled upon a peculiar clearing. In the center stood a dilapidated cabin, its wooden walls decaying with age. Despite its ominous appearance, curiosity got the better of her, and she cautiously approached the structure. As she pushed open the creaking door, Emily was engulfed by a dank scent that hung heavy in the air. Her eyes adjusted to the dim interior, revealing a room filled with dusty furniture and strange symbols etched into the walls. Suddenly, a cold gust of wind rushed through the cabin, extinguishing all the candles. Emily's heart thundered in her chest as she felt a presence lurking in the darkness. She fumbled for her flashlight, desperately searching for something familiar in the unsettling chaos. The beam of light flickered across a mirrored surface. Emily gasped as she discovered a mirror on the far wall, its reflection distorted and unsettling. Against her better judgment, she approached it, her fingers trembling. As she stared into the mirror, the reflection began to shift and twist. Emily's blood ran cold as her own face contorted into a grotesque, nightmarish image, screaming silently back at her. She recoiled in horror, but the mirror refused to release its hold on her.